Hello guys, welcome back to Filmy Fool, all things pop culture right here. I am back this week with a mega film. What do I say about this film that has not already been said? That's the pressure that I've been under. The world has been raving about it. The world was together, hating the trailer. This is Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey, and this is what I thought about it. First and foremost, I want to get this out of the way. Be it casting, be it the way the film is shown, the way the story is told. This is an interpretation of Christopher Nolan of the epic Odyssey. The Odyssey was written 3,000 years earlier. Now, this statement itself is inaccurate because 3,000 years ago, 7th BC or 8th century BC, in between those, you did not even have writing or script. So originally the Odyssey was composed in spoken language, spoken Greek. Eventually it was written down and then translated into books. So anybody else consuming this today, you cannot be sure that this is the absolute gospel truth, the way it was originally narrated. Having said that, the film is not the medium to show accuracies. This is Christopher Nolan's take on this story, and it is his prerogative to showcase it, to write it the way he wants, to cast whoever he wants to. If you do not want to watch this film, if you feel so strongly about the inaccuracies, do not watch the film, or watch the film and pan it all you want. That's my take on this. Now that that is out of the way, we get back to the film itself. This is a film of epic proportions, technically brilliant, outstanding, just what was required for an epic tale like this to be told. You look at the genius of Christopher Nolan, the way he shot this film. It's shot for IMAX, and you will realize that difference both in visual appeal as well as sound design. This is a film to be experienced in IMAX, period. Christopher Nolan embraces the original style of the Odyssey using scrambled narrative, because the Odyssey, from what I have researched online, was also a scrambled narrative. It was non-linear narrative. Nolan embraces this, and we all know how well he can do with non-linear narratives. You can go way back to Memento or The Prestige or so many other examples of how beautifully he does this, and this is no different from that. The essence of this story is in the fact that Nolan knows exactly when to reveal a piece of information, when to give you a bite, and when to give you the whole meal. That's how he gives you the Battle of Troy, and I am not exaggerating. This is exactly how he's done this. It is absolutely beautiful to watch. Some of the people might have an issue with the pacing of the film, especially in the first half. I probably think only in the first half. The second half, I really don't think anybody would have an issue with pacing because you hardly have time to breathe. First half for me was absolutely fine because the nature of pacing of the first half is why the second half, and especially the final phase, the third act of Odyssey, gives you that much more. If it wasn't for the pacing of the first half, for you to tire out almost with Odysseus, with his crew, to really embrace what was happening, to consume it, to almost feel the frustration of everyone who's been longing to go back home, the payoff in the third act wouldn't be as rich and as beautiful. So I enjoyed that pacing. I think the cutoff at 2 hours was just about right. Maybe a 5-10 minute earlier cutoff for the half would have been better for general masses, but I still feel this is a judgment call, and I thought it was perfectly fine. Coming down to the brilliance of Nolan in terms of constructing these scenes, there is hardly any CGI used here. Monumental task on top of that is that it's shot with IMAX cameras, those gigantic cameras which apparently run for only 3 minutes in one go. So to shoot this 2-hour, 50-odd minute epic tale is just that much more of a humongous task. When you look at all of this together, with the technical brilliance of how each and every scene is constructed, whether you have shots up in the palace or you have shots of the sea and the crew battling the sea trying to stay afloat, or even the Battle of Troy, each and everything is created beautifully. The art direction is exemplary. It is outstanding in every aspect of that. Moving on to one of the favorite things that I have in this film is the background score and sound design. Ludwig Göransson, once again, known him from Oppenheimer, but the peak Ludwig Göransson for me will always be Sinners. That is absolute peak of this genius of a musician. You have also seen him in Black Panther, and now you have him in the Odyssey, amping up what you are supposed to feel and sometimes just taking it all away. There is a scene where the brilliance of sound design, along with Christopher Nolan's just masterful vision, comes together. Telemachus, played by Tom Holland, is on the ship going to look for his father, and the camera pans out of the ship to show you the expanse of the sea and the single vessel sailing across that sea. And you first hear the sounds of the people around, and that goes down, and you hear the sound of the sea. And as the camera pans out, you stop hearing anything. There is a silence for the next 7-8 seconds. It's almost pin drop silence, because I guess Nolan wanted you to consume that view, consume where the film is, just embrace that with all your senses and just center yourself for what's gonna come next. And very seamlessly, the scene transitions to a white sand beach, and the sound of the wave once again start off, and then the sound of Odysseus on that beach. So that transition for me was just beautiful. Beautiful direction, beautiful sound design coming together. I just retelling this, I'm having goosebumps right now. There are so many such moments, so many such scenes that one can go on. And if you scroll through Instagram, you'll realize that everybody is doing that. They are just going bonkers over how good this film is. And I am just glad that people are loving it for what it is, without really going into utmost details about accuracies and this and that. I get it, it's mythology, but it's also based on written script, and hence can call it an adapted screenplay of sorts. So I'd just like to point out that of all the adapted screenplays we've seen on screen, no matter what that book was, what the quality of writing was, there is hardly ever any utmost accuracy, 100% accuracy from what's written to what comes out on the film. It's always an interpretation, and art is open to interpretation. I just like to leave this there, that people interpret art the way they want to, the way they see, the way their mindset is, the way their context is. And hence, a lot of times you'll hear examples of creators getting surprised by the interpretations that come from people who view this art, because they've not created it with that view, but yet people who watch it get to see that. And that's the beauty of art. At times, see things that the original creator himself had never meant to put in. And it'll happen with films ever so often. The brilliance of Ludwig Göransson peaks, absolutely peak, in a couple of scenes. There are a couple of sequences, and I don't want to call them scenes because they're long drawn sequences. The entire Battle of Troy, Göransson uses sound design to make you feel the stomping on your feet, the stomping of troops, the way the entire set of troops barge in to Troy. You can feel that under your feet sitting at the theaters. That is how badly they wanted you to see or to feel what it's like to run rampage on a place like Troy, or any place for that matter. And the 10 years of pent-up rage, Odysseus says this out beautifully and with so much. The 10 years of pent-up rage is unleashed on this city, and it is heartbreaking to watch, yet beautiful in terms of how it's constructed. And there is an Easter egg towards the end of that scene where Matt Damon cries, and so does what you see as Athena, the goddess of war and strategy. That entire sequence is breathtaking. It is absolutely beautiful to watch and heartbreaking at the same time. The other sequence is the climax, the last act in this film. That is once again absolutely magical to watch. Matt Damon just unleashing himself on all the suitors. I thought that was beautiful, and my tip of the hat to Anne Hathaway on the scene just before that, and to the costume designer for the look that Anne Hathaway has in that scene. The way she comes out, she is queen. She is the queen, and anybody who looks at her will not be able to challenge that. It is pristine, that costume, the look overall, it's beautiful. Fantastic work there. The performances, just outstanding work by each and every person. Anne Hathaway, I've already spoken of. Tom Holland does it with so much rigor, and he gives in so much more than what you would have seen from him otherwise. The icing on the cake, or the absolute peak, is Robert Pattinson and Matt Damon. Both of those guys, I was looking forward to watching them more than the fact that the characters they were playing were meaty and were driving forces of the story in different ways, but also because just from the trailer, especially with Pattinson, there was this energy, there was this aura about him which was making me uncomfortable. And that's the beauty of Pattinson. His eyes can be charming, can be puppy-like, and can be absolutely horrifying. And in this case, he goes for the last bit there. It is uncomfortable, it is irritating, it is obnoxious to watch a man like that on screen, and that is the beauty of Robert Pattinson's performance, that you actually feel that kind of hatred towards him. The beauty of the storytelling is that there are similarities to what Nolan has always done, and to both of these I found towards the end of that film, almost in the last act, when Odysseus, played by Matt Damon, is narrating what happened at the Battle of Troy. And I realized that pilferage, that rampage, the 10 years of pent-up rage and his regret for what happened, because it was his idea. The Trojan horse was his idea. It was very similar to Oppenheimer in the sense that both these people had a thought, had an idea, they actioned that idea, got other people to join into that idea only because they were interested in what was to come next, what was to come after that, which was the fact that this deed was done and they had achieved it. So Odysseus and Oppenheimer both did it, but then regretted what followed after that. So I found parallels between these two films. Another aspect that I found parallels with, and Nolan has done this so beautifully in the past, is the longing, the desire, never-ending want to just go back home. It was DiCaprio with Inception, it was Matthew McConaughey in Interstellar, and it is Odysseus in the Odyssey. So yes, the story was written, those two were written by Nolan, and this was written 3,000 years ago. But the fact is that Nolan understands the granularity of what it takes, and possibly he's based both of those, Interstellar and Inception's feeling of the father wanting to go back home, on the Odyssey originally. I have no idea, only Nolan can answer that, and maybe there are no parallels and I'm just reading too much into it. But it was really nice to see that happening, and it was great to watch this film in IMAX in the theaters. I can go on about numerous other scenes, whether it's the Cersei scene, whether it's the scene on the sea, the whirlpool, Skylar, it's just Cyclops or the giants without any CGI. And you would see a reel from Tom Holland talking about the fact that he himself was amazed when he saw that scene on the screen because of how it was shot, because these men were looking like normal men, they were not looking like giants. And yet when you watch it, you realize how cleverly it's been shot, the camera angles, the way it's been constructed and put together, the editing overall is beautiful and so damn smart. Odyssey is a film that you should, by all means, watch in the IMAX. If you're a Nolan fan, there is absolutely no reason why you shouldn't be watching this. If you want to understand why people are going crazy about the Odyssey, you should go ahead and watch it. And if you've always found Nolan's storytelling to be complicated, because Inception was complicated, Interstellar was, to an extent Prestige was, and Memento was, even Dunkirk was, Oppenheimer wasn't. But this one, possibly easy to understand from the storytelling standpoint. So if you want to understand what the big deal is about Christopher Nolan, I think this is a film you should go and watch. I'm ignoring the Batman trilogy because the superhero genre is set aside and there is very little anybody can do to come close to that. I'm keeping that aside. The Odyssey is playing in the theaters, guys. Watch it in the IMAX for the sound design, for the cinematography, for the expanse that Christopher Nolan brings to you. This is a film worth watching, worth experiencing. I am going to be going for my second viewing very soon. That's how good it is. That's how much I loved it. This is Filmy Fool signing off, guys. All things pop culture right here. Until next time, take care. Bye-bye.